Hello, I'm Spencer Roberts, and this is my presentation of my senior project, Clyde, a novel. The original idea of this novel came from a book I had written previously, which featured Clyde as a secondary character. I was intrigued by Clyde's character in that novel, and I decided to expand upon him further in this novel. To understand this novel, we first must look at the background of the novel to understand the setting. The novel Clyde is set 20 years after the collapse of the United States through pestilence, nuclear war, famine, and economic collapse. From the ashes of this decimated land, which had been destroyed just as much as the rest of the world, where the people were scattered and in chaos, looking for something to give them hope, rose like a phoenix the Prioridom, a government which rose to bring a sense of order and security to the people. People looked to the Prioridom as a source of hope and as a single beacon of light in a world of darkness. The Prioridom then took over a large swath of land in the fertile area that was once known as Indiana. This area was largely unaffected by the nuclear weapons which had been used and decimated much of the land. The Prioridom, as a government, uses strict rules to enforce its laws on its citizens, and its citizens follow the laws of the new government in order to have that sense of security, or otherwise they face punishment. The government, known as the Prioridom, takes priority in the lives of its citizens, which is where it derives its name. Its slogan is, "Serve the Prioridom, execute justice." The first half of this sentence is meant for the citizens of the government. These citizens are expected to serve the Prioridom through their strength and their work, working endlessly to build up the government. The second part of their slogan, "Execute justice," is meant for the peacekeepers and the officials of the government, which enforce rules and keep the people from breaking them. The government sets itself as the focus of its citizens. While the original intentions of the founders were good and wanting to help people, through the use of communist dictatorial powers, the rights of the people were stripped away. People traded their liberty and their rights, which they had enjoyed under the Constitution of the United States, for the security and well-being that the new government brought. The primary setting of the novel is N6, which is the sixth city in the northern portion of the Prioridom. Each portion is organized into a circular ring of cities with a large field for growing food in the center. The city of N6 has ore mines where men work and weapons, food, and textile factories where women work. These jobs are segregated to men and women respectively. The main character of the novel is Clyde Tsunamis. He is described as having pale skin and strong muscles from working in the mines for years, where it is very dark and he gets very little natural sunlight. Clyde starts the novel disliking the government, but believing he can't really do anything to fight against it. To fight against the Prioridom means punishment. The secondary character in the novel is Trey Tsunamis, who is Clyde's brother. He is tall and dark-haired, preferring to keep a longer haircut and a beard. Trey is a realist. Throughout the novel, he believes that dissent against the government is necessary to fight against it, but that it can only be achieved on a personal level. He believes that organized, multi-person dissent is impossible and will be stamped out quickly by the Priordom, which will kill all the members of this multi-person dissent. A tertiary character of the novel is Dayton Lanier. Dayton Lanier is the leader of a fledgling group called Dissension, which is a group of people that want to fight against the Priordom. Throughout the novel, he convinces many people to join his group and works especially hard to gain Clyde's trust and have Clyde join Dissension because of Clyde's natural leadership and thinking abilities. Another secondary character in the novel is Starr. Starr is a blonde woman who works with the Tsunamis brothers in the mines. She is one of the few women that qualified to work in the mines because of her strength. She dates Trey Tsunamis during the duration of the novel. However, because of the Priordom's rules on this, they have to keep this relationship secret. Otherwise, the Priordom would come and separate them, sending one person to a city across the Priordom so they would never see each other again. She brings a large portion of laughter into Clyde and Trey's lives by her cheerful disposition, despite all the punishment and trials the Priordom inflicts upon them. The story starts with Clyde, Trey, and Starr in the mines, working tirelessly each day with little food and water to sustain them. The Priordom then announces that it needs men to harvest wheat, as it is in fall, and they need people to harvest the wheat for the yearly harvest. The Priordom chooses men and women to harvest, including Clyde, Trey, and Starr. During this harvest, Dayton uses the looser security of the Priordom in such a large wheat field where the officials, the peacekeepers, are more spaced out and cannot keep as good of an eye on its citizens, to talk to people and convince them to dissent against the government. Clyde listens to Dayton's speeches, which Dayton gives on a nearly daily basis to a growing group of supporters, and Clyde feels as if organized dissent could actually work because of Dayton's fiery speeches, which build up the flame of dissent in Clyde's heart. However, this multi-person dissent that Clyde is in support of clashes directly with his brother Trey, who sees Dayton's efforts as a foolhardy way to get people killed and will ultimately result in a net loss for everyone. Dayton's speeches eventually lead to Clyde and others stealing a small amount of wheat from the Priordom because of the continually lax security in the wheat fields. Throughout the next portion of the novel, Clyde continues stealing wheat, and on the last day of the harvest, Clyde loads his pockets full of wheat, feeling confident because he has not been caught stealing the wheat yet. However, the Priordom springs a trap and captures Clyde and several others that were stealing the wheat. He is then shipped off to a distant part of the northern quadrant where he is dumped into a small cell and dragged about, beaten, psychologically and physically tortured to make him think that the Priordom is good, as well as to reveal who else he had been collaborating with to steal the wheat. However, all this does is reinforce Clyde's conviction against the Priordom. He is released, though he is whipped publicly in front of all of the citizens, recovers from this whipping and beating, and decides to fight against the government. In the climax of the novel, after Clyde went around talking to people, stirring up people to anger against the government, and making more people join dissension, Clyde infiltrates the city's arms factory at night with a few other people and steals weapons for dissension's efforts against the Praetorium. Coming back from this successful mission, after dumping off the weapons in a secret underground base that dissension uses, Clyde's brother, Trey, discovers what happened and gets extremely angry at Clyde for risking his life. The argument ends, ultimately, with Clyde yelling at his brother to leave him, and Trey then leaves the room, storming off into the night. Clyde wakes to discover that Trey has entirely left the city. He discovers that Trey went to Starr that night and told her that he was leaving. Clyde has a conversation with Starr where they discuss why Trey left, what they're going to do in the future in terms of dissension and how they are going to cope with their loss. And Starr states the theme of the novel very clearly right at the end. She says, "We have the ability to stand up against evil, and so we must." This theme is shown throughout the novel as people fight against the Praetorium because they can. For the action component of my presentation, I present The Joy of Praetorium. It is the theme for the government, and it acts as a wordless national anthem, which shows the power of the government through deep vocals and drums. This song would be played at official gatherings or official events where the Praetorium wants to show its power. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation of Clyde, a novel.